All right, let's talk about something that's totally changing the game for brands. We're diving into a framework that's rewriting the rules of brand identity. We're going to look at how to move beyond all the guesswork and actually use AI to build a strategy that doesn't just work today, it actually evolves for tomorrow.
So, let me kick this off with a question for you. Is your brand strategy a snapshot or is it a live feed? I mean, really think about that for a second. One captures a single, frozen moment in time, while the other is constantly updating, learning, and reacting. That difference? Well, it's everything.
You know, for the longest time, brand strategy was treated kind of like a formal portrait. You'd get everyone together, you'd create this beautiful snapshot, but the second it was done, it was already a picture of the past.
And here's the thing. In a world that can shift overnight, that whole snapshot approach is just, well, it's fundamentally broken. It simply can't keep up anymore.
So let's break down exactly why the old way is failing us. First off, traditional strategies are static. They get created once, put in a nice binder, and then they just sit on the shelf collecting dust. Second, they're super subjective. They're usually based on what a few people in a boardroom think is right, not what customers are actually saying and feeling out in the real world. And finally, man, are they slow. They get a refresh maybe every 2 or 3 years, which in today's market is basically an eternity.
The shift we're talking about here is huge. It's like going from one of those old, printed-out paper maps to having a live GPS on your phone. The old way relied on brainstorming, intuition, and surveys that were outdated the minute you got the results back. The new way? It's all about real-time data, predictive models, and AI guiding you turn by turn. It's not just a better map, it's a completely different way of navigating the world.
So, how do we get this live GPS for our brand? Well, we do it with a new AI-powered framework. This is what transforms your strategy from some static document into a living, breathing intelligence engine for your business.
So you can think of this framework as a kind of engine, right? It's constantly pulling in signals from the market. What are customers talking about? What are your competitors doing right now? And it integrates all of that into a dynamic model, making sure your brand never, ever becomes a dated snapshot again.
All right, so let's pop the hood and see how this thing actually works. This whole engine runs on 5 core pillars. Okay, here they are. Audience intelligence, competitor voice mapping, predictive analytics, sentiment-driven refinement, and finally, AI-powered testing and scaling. Now together, these things create this continuous loop of insight and action. So let's dig into each one.
First up, audience intelligence. And listen, this is not your grandma's demographics, okay? We're not just talking about age and location. AI looks at what people actually do, their search history, their purchases, their online interactions, to find these super valuable microsegments you would have never even seen otherwise.
What this really means is you stop guessing who your customers are and you start knowing, with cold, hard data to back it all up. This lets you tailor your message directly to the people who are most likely to listen and, actually convert.
Pillar number 2 is competitor voice mapping. This is where AI uses something called natural language processing, which is basically just its ability to read and understand language like a human, to scan everything your competitors are saying. It literally maps out the entire conversational landscape to see who owns which ideas.
So why does this matter? Because it lets you spot the narrative gaps. You can see the messages that everyone else is ignoring. This shows you exactly where your brand can swoop in and own a totally unique part of the conversation, instead of just shouting the same tired old lines as everybody else.
Now, pillar number 3 is a real game changer: predictive analytics. This is where things get really cool. Instead of just reacting to trends after they've happened, AI models can actually forecast market shifts and spot what consumers are going to need before it hits the mainstream. It's like seeing around the corner.
And the crucial point here is that this lets your brand be proactive. You get to stay ahead of the curve and actually shape the market, instead of always feeling like you're playing catch-up from behind. Next up, we've got sentiment-driven refinement. So this pillar is all about moving beyond what people do and really getting into how they feel. By analyzing reviews, social media comments, all that chatter, AI taps into the emotional landscape of your entire market.
This is how you make sure your brand's message feels genuinely human. It helps you connect on the values your customers truly care about, things like trust, or sustainability, or transparency. And that makes your brand positioning so much more powerful.
And the final pillar, testing and scaling, well, it brings everything home. So, once you've found a potential strategy you're excited about, you don't just launch it and cross your fingers. No way. Instead, you use AI to run simulations and tests to predict how it's going to perform.
This lets you validate your entire strategy with real data before you do a big, expensive rollout. You slash the risk and make sure that when you do go to market, you're leading with a position that's already proven to have the biggest possible impact.
Now, I know what you might be thinking. This sounds a little like the machines are taking over, but that's really not the full picture here. The most powerful approach is a partnership. It's human creativity plus the machine's intelligence.
But it is super important to remember that AI has its limits. First, its insights are only as good as the data you feed it. Garbage in, garbage out, right? And second, while AI is brilliant at finding patterns, it can't give you the human empathy or the cultural context you need to figure out what those patterns actually mean.
And you know, the source material for this really nails it with this quote. AI delivers intelligence, speed, and foresight, while human strategists bring storytelling, judgment, and intuition. See, the future isn't one or the other. It's a hybrid where data makes our creativity stronger and our creativity makes all that data meaningful.
So we come all the way back to that first idea. Are you going to stick with a static snapshot, or are you ready for a live feed? The tools are here, the framework is clear, so the only real question left is your brand ready to stop guessing and start leading?